you do your most magnificent creating in the direction of that which you truly want. And so, those of you who have found yourself, for whatever reason, drawn or compelled or addicted to that which you now no longer want, we say to you, your wanting of not is much stronger than your wanting to have it was in the beginning. And if you can, even for a little period of time, separate yourself from the substance that you are no longer wanting, while at the same time you keep your focus or your thoughts upon the picture of your life that you now so very much want, you will find it a very, very fast process to relieve yourself or release yourself from this process or action or addiction or compulsion or habit. There may very well be some physical discomfort, for your body has become used to the substance. But it is our knowing that that discomfort will be very short term. It is the emotional wanting that triggers the resurgence of the habit again. If you can get past that period of being uncomfortable, your body will release the substance much quicker than your mind will, and much quicker than any of you really realize that it will be. In summary, only when you have a clear picture of something that you are wanting more than participation within the action of this substance will you be able to leave it behind you. You must replace one wanting with another wanting that is greater. There are many ways to go about it. You could lock yourself in a room. You could strap yourself to a bed. You could take all sorts of action to separate yourself from this habit or addiction. But it is our observation that that is miserable way to go about it. If instead you can spend some time, even days before your actual separation from the substance, imagining yourself free from it, and imagining yourself in the joyous life that you are wanting as you are free from it, then it is our absolute promise to you that that picture of you without it will live and be as real as that which you live now, and it will reach back from its place in the future to you in your present to inspire you to action that is not so painful. You are told you must separate yourself completely, cold turkey, away from it. And we say, perhaps. On the other hand, you may make a decision and try it, knowing that if it becomes too intense or uncomfortable, that you always have the option of resuming the habit. Also understanding that you are mentally or emotionally that much closer to releasing it next time. We say to you, do not be so hard on yourselves. Simply keep working on your picture, on your vision of yourself without it. And when that picture is clear, actually only when that picture is clear, will you be able to easily release whatever it is that you are now no longer wanting. We know that as you are one listening to this recording who has tried before, or who is now very much involved or addicted to something and you are very much not wanting to be, that you may be resisting these words, feeling that it is really a very hard thing to do. All things are hard to do if you're really not wanting to do them, while those things that you are really wanting to do become easier. And if you will look back into your experience, you will remember that there were those things that by other standards would have been very difficult, but to you they were very easy. Not because one is easy and one is hard, but because when you want something, the power of the universe assists you. You became addicted because you wanted, and you can become unaddicted for the same reason and with the same power. It is our strongest desire that first you will accept that you are not doing that which is wrong or that which is evil or that which is inappropriate as you are addicted. For you are participating and you have come to a conclusion about the way you feel about it. If you are wanting to participate with your drug or with your alcohol or whatever it is, then do so. But if you are not wanting to, if you have found yourself in a position now where you would rather be without it, then that which you have heard here will be of great value to you. There is so much more power in your wanting than you understand. The power of your wanting is the very reason that you are in the position that you are now in. Your wanting has carried you far. Your wanting has led you to action, and your action has put you in a position where you now feel as if you cannot release it. That is powerful, is it not? And in like manner, with that same power, you can release that which you are not wanting by putting your thoughts upon what you are wanting instead. We are knowing that you have some questions for us regarding the subject. We are also knowing that it feels to some as if we have only skimmed the surface of this very complex discussion. We say to you, we have offered you the keys for the release of that which you no longer want. Indeed. We'll hear your questions.
Abraham, what would you recommend to the person on the other end of it, so to speak, for instance, where a parent is extremely disturbed by, let's say, a heavy use of some sort of substance by, let's say, a 14 or 15-year-old child that's still living in their home? What would you recommend to that parent to alleviate their disturbance?
Perhaps the most difficult thing for all parents to come to understand is that they are not the creator of the experience of their children. Each have come forth to create their own experience. We know it is very difficult when you are a parent loving your child and you see your child doing that which you believe is harmful. As you speak that which you want, in most cases there is great resistance from the other. Always, the best approach when you are wanting to stimulate another to different behavior is to first stimulate the wanting of the other. You do not do that by pointing out what is wrong. As you give your attention to what you do not want, you add power unto that. As you see someone doing something that you don't want them to do, or that you know that they do not really want to do, and you speak out about the hazard or the harm or all that you see that is wrong with it, you stimulate their thought to that which they are not wanting, and you add power unto that. We know it is not easy to look away, and yet that would be far better than to add power unto that which you do not want. Ideally, what we would encourage you to do is to look for what you do want and speak and think about that, and influence the other to wanting more of that as well. What more?
Thank you. If anyone comes to us, whether they're a relative or whatever, and they're telling us about what to them is a major problem in their life, what do you suggest as the best reaction for us?
Of course, you are not wanting to seem rude, and what we would encourage you to do may seem rude. For we would say, close your ears and do not participate in the conversation of anything that you know is not wanted. Mm-hmm. As you allow yourself to be a sounding board for another speaking of what they do not want, you are assisting them in their miscreating. And so, if you could say, I know that this sounds strange, but I am coming to believe that our thoughts and our words play a very big role in what we attract into our experience. And therefore, I do not think it is a good idea for us to continue to talk about what we do not want. Let's talk about what we do want. Then you can be of advantage. But listening to them speak and add power to what they do not want is certainly not helping them. It is actually influencing them to miscreation.
My experience in the days gone by was that many people told me their problems, but not many people were asking me for solutions to their problems. If a person comes to us actually asking for a solution, then your recommendation would be...
If someone said to us, how can I stop doing this? How can I solve this problem? How can I omit this which I do not want from my experience? Our answer would be, stop thinking about it, stop talking about it, and thereby stop attracting it. Mm-hmm. It is your word and thought that keep bringing it to you.
Now, let's take a situation where a person has an addictive experience that they feel is filling some void in their life, and yet on the other hand, they feel that this addictive experience is also detrimental in terms of their total being. Is there anything specific that you'd say to someone in a case like that, let's say if they're looking for a total harmony of their being?
First, we would say, it is not necessary for you to give up one thing in order to have another. You truly can have everything that you want at the same time. But what we are speaking about here upon this subject of addictions is not having more than one thing that is wanted at the same time. We are talking about having something in your experience that you have now decided that you do not want. In other words, unless you have reached the decision that you do not want that, unless you have decided that you no longer want this addiction, then there is not a reason for you to be listening to this recording or to be trying to figure out how to stop it. We say if you want it, continue it. But when you are in a position where you are having something that you are not wanting, then that is a different subject. And in order to stop experiencing something, you must stop thinking about it and stop speaking about it. And then it will be much easier for you to stop acting about it. For your action is an extension of your word and thought, just as your word is an extension of your thought. Most often, an addiction begins out of a wanting to feel stronger, or a wanting to not feel pain about something else. Most addictions come from wanting release or relief from something that troubles. Now, of course, it is easy for us to say there are many ways of accomplishing the same thing without becoming addicted to some substance. But for those who have already found themselves addicted, those are not very satisfying words. We say to you, anything that you are experiencing that you are no longer wanting to experience can be released from your experience only when it is wanted to be released, and when it is released from thought first. To continue to talk about it, to continue to justify why you are doing it, only adds power unto your wanting. And in order to stop thinking about something, you must think about something else, because you cannot not think about something. And so the solution is to fill your thoughts, fill your words, fill your actions with other subjects. Find other things that interest you or that you want. And so you say, but that's how I got here to begin with. I didn't know what I wanted. I wasn't comfortable with who I was. And so I sought out some sort of release or relief, and that has gotten me where I am. And so how can I find the strength that I didn't have before now to get me out of it? And we say, it will be easier, because now your wanting to be free of it is much greater than your wanting to be free of your fear, or your wanting to be free of your loneliness, or your wanting to be free of your insecurities. It is even greater than your wanting to please another. Many of you have experienced your beginning of addiction because you wanted to please another, or you didn't want to displease them. Now what has happened to you? And it is perhaps the most valuable thing that will ever happen to you in this experience. You are now clearer than you have ever been about what you want. And now, finally, you are at the point of deliberate creating, because you have reached the point of knowing that you now want to please you. From our perspective, those who are addicted and no longer wanting to are in the best position of any physical beings upon the face of this earth to find out how easy it is to be deliberate creator, because your wanting is greater. And wanting is the beginning point of all deliberate creating, you see. There are many who say, it is hopeless, I cannot help those people. And we say, it is far from hopeless. For if the laws of the universe were understood, if it was understood how you get what you get, then those who are addicted would be those who would most understand that they can now create above all others, for they have much more powerful wanting than all others, if they can find that magic key, which is to get their thought upon something else and let their passionate wanting drive them toward it. We have never been advocates of finding your gain through pain, for it is our knowledge that you can have absolute growth out of absolute joy. And so why would anyone ever choose the pain? But we do recognize the value of contrast.